Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to TSK F1. My name's Rich, and here is your morning dose of Formula One news. We're going to be talking about Alpine and the Piastri saga and the continuation of that. We're going to be looking at some comments from Ross Brawn about sprint races. Red Bull retracting some comments or correcting some comments made about Max Verstappen by one of their staff, and also getting our teeth into the ongoing story that is Mattia Binotto in charge of Ferrari. Will he or won't he be in a little while? But we're going to get into that. Please do make sure you've smashed the like on the stream and also subscribe to the channel. Good morning, everyone. Please do get involved with the vote that is going on in the chat. So the first point I wanted to talk about this morning was the Oscar Piastri saga. He obviously was the reserve youth academy driver for Alpine, and it seemed like a while ago that Alpine jumped the gun, said he would be driving for them to replace Alonso next season. He said he wouldn't be. We all know the story. And Alpine just didn't have a contract for him, basically. And because of that, it has come out that Alpine have responded by relieving Director of Legal Affairs Benedicte Mercer of her responsibilities. Apologies if I have pronounced the first name wrong or incorrectly, but they've gotten rid of their Director of Legal Affairs because it was deemed that Mercer couldn't tie Oscar Piastri down to a contract, and in fact had drafted the actual contract that Piastri had, and it was nowhere near tight enough to keep him with Alpine. So they've had to let someone go, and that was reported in the UK on Companies House. When someone is a director of a company in the UK, they have to be listed on there, and someone has noticed that this person has been removed. That whole situation was so crazy. It was so soap opera, and it brought a lot of things into question. The value of driver academies, the loyalty of driver academies. Are they worthwhile? Should teams still be doing it? And Alpine did, in fact, start questioning their own driver academy. If a driver just ups and leaves, but I think really it's more a contractual thing, isn't it? I think this is a reminder to Alpine they really need to make sure their contracts are watertight for the length of time that they want to engage that driver. They really need to make sure that they're tied down to it. And it will have been something silly in the written language within the contract that I bet you could have taken it one way, that Piastri was tied down, and I bet really it didn't explicitly say that, so he could leave. So it is a bit messy, and they've had to let someone go because of it, probably because of a poor language use in a contract. It happens all the time in Formula One. We see it, don't we? We see it all the time. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Smash that like on the stream. So, yeah, just a little bit of news there that Alpine letting go their Director of Legal Affairs over the Oscar Piastri saga. I suppose after all of that, the public embarrassment and how silly it all looked, someone's head had to roll over that whole situation, didn't it? Really, you'd think so. The next piece of news is about Ross Brawn and what he's been saying about sprint races. Now, that's another poll that we could have in the chat. Do you enjoy the sprint races? Let's just have it in the chat. Do you enjoy the sprint races? Now, he has said that it was the sprint races are a fantastic foundation, and things shouldn't be changed. We're very cautious about changing things, and certainly I don't think we should move to a dramatically different format. Now, to say the last one was epic, I agree, but everyone who knows me knows my stance on it is that they're somewhat flat. I think we just need to give the drivers a reason, right? So they need to look at the points, they need to look at the prize money. Maybe as Destruction Derby as this sounds, maybe they need to look at cost cap implications. Maybe they need to look at cost cap implications. Sorry, because back to a video that I made a week or so ago on the channel, you get $100,000 if the car cannot finish the race, but really a front wing will cost around $100,000 to replace. So maybe F1 needs to up the spend cap allowance, if you like, if there's damage and things like that. So maybe the drivers would be more inclined to take a risk or two, the team's more inclined to take a risk or two, because they will be looking at it with one eye on how much it costs if they damage the cars. Let's look at the Ferrari news, the video that I put out yesterday about Ferrari being out of money for the season some time ago because they had to think about spares. Think about Red Bull Ring when Sainz's, I think it was Sainz's car, went up in flames and Leclerc crashed in France, and it all costs money. It all comes under the spend cap. So it's all worth thinking about. Maybe that is a route to getting the drivers and the teams to risk more within sprint races. I don't know. That's just a thought that's come to me right now. Braun went on to say, it was great, a fantastic race, gave the crowd terrific entertainment. Qualifying is special, but not as special as this was. I enjoyed that. And I agree. I enjoyed the Brazilian sprint race. I enjoyed the last one as well, mainly, because driver coming back to the front there, so it's an interesting one to how you get them to risk stuff. I mean, really, Bash, you're in an extreme minority there. The amount of the reality is the amount of people that watch the F2 and definitely F3 is a tiny percentage of people. So they really need to look at why, if you're enjoying them, why people like yourself enjoy those races and what they can put into the sprint races for that. I don't really. I get what you're saying about the qualifying race, but I still do look at it as a race in its own right. Weirdly enough, I enjoy the sprint races themselves. I'm not so keen on the format of them. I think they only work for certain tracks too. Yeah, I think they need to get. I think they need to make sure they're picking the statistically. What would the word be? The tracks that provide the most overtaking statistically. That's what they need to go for, which off the top of my head are places like Baku and Bahrain and Spa and Brazil. I'm trying to think where else, but those types of track they are up there with the most passing in a season. You know, when they're picking Monza, which is in the bottom third of passing, I'm almost certain. I'm sure they did a sprint race at Monza, bottom third of passing in the season. It doesn't make much sense, does it? If you want in a sprint race, what you want in the sprint race for is overtaking an action. Pick the tracks where they can overtake. It's like doing a sprint race at something like Zandvoort, where really there isn't all that much, is there, from the top of my head, or Monaco sprint race, imagine. But he said they are not looking to change the format, and he was very happy with what happened in Brazil, which I think we all were as Formula One fans. But it's just bringing that to you that they're not looking to change anything about those right now. Now, you might remember last week, maybe the week before, I brought you an article where Rocky, engineer from Red Bull, had been talking about Max Verstappen. And while he called him an absolute boss on track, which is actually a quote, an absolute boss, and supremely fast, and as a racing driver, he's never seen anyone like it. As a complete driver, he said Sebastian Vettel was more of a complete driver. While Vettel was quick, maybe not as raw quick as Verstappen, as a complete package, he was better. And this is coming from, I think, 2015 to 2022. Rocky was head of engineering at Red Bull, and now he's head of Red Bull Junior program. I think I'm getting that right. So he said this, and now Red Bull have come out and changed that, which was kind of predictable because it came across as actually, I thought it was a very honest from a current Red Bull employee to say that. But someone from Red Bull, Paul Monahan, chief engineer, Paul Monahan, I think that's how you say his name, from Red Bull, has corrected these, saying it was a poor translation. A poor translation. They'll never have a third car, though. They'll never have a third car, will they? Because of cash, they'll never do that. But I'm not against it, but they just won't, will they? Paul Monahan has gone against these, kind of saying that they were misquoted, saying if we may just correct some things, it was poor translation from an interview from a colleague of mine, so it's a little bit misquoted. However, to answer your question, Max is technically extremely gifted, which is the opposite of what Rocky said. He did a lot of work as a youngster, often guided by his father, and you can see the legacy of that. He knows what he's talking about within the car, and he knows what he wants, which is pretty much what Rocky said. And with his engineers, they know how to deliver the car he finds nicely balanced, easy to drive. Well, not necessarily easy to drive, but drivable. Looks after his tyres well enough that he can manage a situation. And if you look at his record in the past seasons, he's been with us, it's stunning. He wouldn't achieve that if he wasn't an exceptional driver. Can he improve? Yes, of course he can. He might not thank me for saying that, but I think there are areas where he can get a little better. Now, look, I don't see him as particularly correcting much that Rocky said there, because while he did say Max is technically extremely gifted, that's kind of different to saying with his engineers, they know how to deliver a car he finds nicely balanced and easy to drive. Like, that doesn't mean that someone's technically gifted. And this isn't a dig at Max Verstappen, but if he can say it's understeering there and the engineer can sort it, then that's fine. That's all you need. So I don't think it completely corrects or changes much what Rocky said. I suppose he did say weak technically, and he's just said extremely gifted, which he's probably overselling it. But I thought I would just bring that to you as a bit of a correction myself, because Red Bull have corrected it. It's a bit strange. It's a little thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing if Max Verstappen. How old is he? 24, 25? He's not an engineer. He's a racing driver, and it's absolutely fine if he's not technically gifted. He's bloody quick on a racetrack, and that's his job. Like, I'm a firm believer in the right people for the right job. So long as Max Verstappen can go, guys, it's not turning in, or it's oversteering, that's enough, isn't it? That's enough. Why, So I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And when I first said it, it wasn't a dig either. It wasn't a dig. Engineers are engineers. Racing drivers are racing drivers. As long as they can communicate, it's absolutely fine, isn't it? They don't need to be a mad scientist, do they? To be a racing driver, they just need to be able to deliver what's going on with the car. Good morning, Sam. How are you doing? The constant hitting each of the drivers under pressure is a really bad thing with MV. Well, I mean, he doesn't really, does he, Jamie? He doesn't really. So, I suppose the main thing to talk about this morning is this chap, Andreas Seidl. Now, yesterday morning, on the stream, I said about Binotto being replaced by Coletti or Vasseur from Alfa Romeo. And then everyone else said the same thing, so they must have seen the same Italian press that I did. And interestingly, unsurprisingly, Ferrari came out and said that these stories have absolutely zero foundation. But they have zero foundation, but more names are being added to the list, which this has come from La Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy as well. and apparently they are insisting that Frederick Vasseur is basically ready to take the role very, very, very shortly. But that Simone Resta has been thrown into the mix, he's been recalled from his technical director role at Haas. So obviously Haas use a lot of Ferrari components. So Simone Resta has been recalled to Ferrari from Haas. So that's an interesting thing, isn't it? That they're bringing a technical director back from one of their customer teams into the fold and into it. So that's another name. But Seidl has been mentioned as well because John Elkann, who is the chairman, I think, at Ferrari, he's already sounded out, apparently, with Seidl about a potential move, and also, Gazzetta are normally spot on with their reports, are they? Like, I wasn't sure, Ian. I wasn't sure, but that's good to know. But also, apparently, Vasseur really has sounded this one out with upper management at Ferrari and the owning group, if you like. So while the tweet went out saying that nothing is happening with Binotto, I'm not sure I fully believe it. Now, Seidl, he came into Formula One with quite the CV, having been with, I think it was Porsche, not Audi, at WEC and winning things there. Like, he is very, very good. So he seems like this. He seems to me like a safe pair of hands kind of guy, and it'd be an interesting appointment if they did get Seidl. It would be an interesting appointment because from the outside it looks like Ferrari have reverted to their sort of recruiting only Italians methodology, because which is how they were before Ross Brawn and Michael Schumacher and that whole time, because they've had Binotto, they've had Aravabene, they've had Stefano Domenicali. Who else have they had in as their team boss? Maybe Seidl might bring into Ferrari a little bit of what Jean Todt did, in so much as a little bit of different thinking, maybe not so ingrained in the Ferrari way, if you like. I think that's what they were actually going for with Binotto, but maybe it's time for a bit of a change. Yeah, it's steady the ship. That's how I kind of see him. I think Vasseur would be good. I do think Vasseur would be good. He seems a right character as well. He seems a no-nonsense, but also witty kind of chap, does Vasseur. So it's an interesting one. The poll at the moment thinks 86% of you, the poll doesn't think that, 86% of you think Seidl would be a good fit for Ferrari. If you see how they drop Vettel, it's no surprise that someone else will announce the end of Binotto. That's I can't really remember, to be honest. Not sure where that would leave McLaren. Well, that is a thing, isn't it? That is a thing. It would be a big move, that, because I still feel like McLaren are a big team. They're not performing like a big team, but they are a big team, and they haven't been performing like a big team for a long time, right? But they are a big team, so to lose their sort of figurehead going over there to Ferrari, that'd be a big move and signal of intent, really, I think. Normally, this only happens if a member of staff is leaving, or they've been there a good while, and we've seen Otmar move, but he only moved once his time was over from Alpine. Was it where did he move from? I'm getting confused. He moved from Aston Martin, right? Otmar, and just people moving about. I've forgotten what the French chap was called, but I think he works for Paul Ricard now. But he worked at McLaren, then he worked at Alpine, then he was gone as well. But I've forgotten. I've forgotten. But they only tend to move when something is kicked off. And to me, it seems like is Seidl doing a good job? That's another thing. Is he doing a good job at McLaren? It's a difficult one, isn't it, with that? Because you'd have to say McLaren have underperformed this season, but has Danny Rick's lack of points made that look worse than it is? Because Norris has been delivering quite often. So I don't really think it's up to them, Pascal. It's money. It's just money, Pascal. He's not in jail. He can do what he wants, you know? He would have a long period of gardening leave, so they would have to make a move shortly, and you would think that Vasseur would as well, unless their contracts are nearly up. But the pressure is even higher at Ferrari, but I think it's a dream for everyone to work there. I think that's true. I do think that's true. Bash, I think that's true. For the vast majority of people involved in Formula One, they want to work for Ferrari. Ferrari are F1, aren't they? So, like, I hold no particular love for Ferrari, but yeah, if I work within Formula One, hell yeah, I want to work for Ferrari because historically, even if they're not performing, Ferrari, it's Ferrari. They're a bit special, aren't they? Their history and the names and everything about them. There's just something a bit special. Now, whether you'd work there for very long is another thing. Who do you think, right now then, guys, we have, I think he's done a good job. McLaren changed everything after Big Wrong era. They were in the middle of, him and Zach have turned around. Not astonishing, but solid turnaround. Yeah, I think that's not a bad assessment, John. I think that's pretty good. So right now we have Coletti, I think the chap's name is, who is head of GT racing at Ferrari. Coletti, Resta, Seidl, and Vasseur. Who do you think would be the person in chat? Just our uneducated. Who do you think? Vasseur, Seidl, Coletti, or Resta? I know the name Simone Resta, and I don't know why. Vasseur for John. Yeah. I'm probably thinking Vasseur myself. That's what I'm probably thinking. He's been around a good long time. He's been in charge at Alfa Romeo a fair while now. I think he was at Renault before that. So I don't think you see Bash. Funny you mention Audi. There's something about Seidl that had me thinking him. I think Seidl fits potentially what Audi could want to bring. I don't know. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Excuse me, but I've been thinking that a little bit. Please do make sure you smash the like on the stream, guys. And also, if you're new here, please do make sure you've hit that subscribe button for F1 news Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. UK time. And also video content on the channel about other new stuff. Yeah, I don't know why I've been thinking that, John. Seidl to Audi could be a thing. Seidl is doing the best he can with Zach Brown breathing down his neck. I'm not really sure it's like that, is it, Jamie? I'm not sure it's really like that. Zach Brown's his boss and Seidl's in charge of the Formula One operation. I'm not sure. Breathing down his neck makes it sound like Zach Brown is some kind of crazed control freak, angry man or something, and I don't think that's really the case. I think he's just his boss, and that's what it is. Interesting to see the outcome of the Piastri saga. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be that next season for McLaren. I mean, we are digressing a touch, but that's absolutely fine. That next season for McLaren is going to be big, isn't it? That is going to be big next season if Piastri can deliver next to Norris. From everything I've heard, he's more of a control freak than Stroll. I mean, I don't know. I can't comment on that. I've never really heard anything like that, Jamie, to be honest. Audi only say we won't recruit based on nationality because of EU employment laws. They'll want a German at the heart of the team. Yeah, but I do believe, though, John, I do believe that Audi will be coming into the sport to win. You know, I don't think it's a bad shout, John. I don't think it's a bad shout. But, you know, like even as a Mick Schumacher fan, Mick Schumacher is being touted as an Audi driver already. But if another driver was available, Audi might pay the big bucks to get him. Now that the drivers aren't under cost cap, Audi could pay big for some big drivers. They're targeting winning within 3 years as well, Audi. Yeah, yeah. I agree though, John. I agree. But then a lot of people say that about Mercedes, don't they? They always say about Mercedes when really they've had Nico Rosberg, but now they've got two Brits at the wheel, you know. So um, it's it's a curious one. I'm really looking forward to Audi coming into the sport. But most people, well, I say most people, four of you, think that Vasseur is the guy to take over. Need you all chatting, guys. 79% of you think that Seidl is a good fit. Audi first season, Hamilton and Verstappen. imagine that. But yeah, I think you're looking more Vasseur or internal recruitment. I really wish I knew why I know the Simone Resta name because I do. I really do, but he's been recalled from Haas apparently, and he's in the mix. I think you could see something after. I think you could see something after Abu Dhabi about this whole Ferrari situation. Of course, they're not going to do it. Even Ferrari aren't stupid enough to sack the team principal before the final race of the season. They need some points. They need to beat Mercedes in the constructors. Like they're not going to do it right now, but after the next race, you could very well see an announcement that Binotto has left Ferrari. Now that normally when people leave Ferrari, they do quite well for themselves, but Leclerc will want to beat Perez too. This is Ferrari. This is Ferrari. I am completely understanding of that. Yeah, I'm on board. I get it, but you know what I mean though. When they can wait a week and do it then or something, um, it's well. You see, though, Jamie, you say the main errors are to do with strategies. They ran out of cost cap money months ago. They ran out of cost cap money months ago. That's an error, isn't it? The budgeting. Like when Mercedes have carried on upgrading, there have been upgrades to the Red Bull as well going forward, and Ferrari had to stop. To me, that's quite a grave error, especially if they lose second place in the constructors. It's an exceptionally expensive error as well. They shouldn't be in danger, but because of driver mistakes and strategic mistakes, they are in danger. But it's still a massive error that they budgeted incorrectly and they've got no money. If you want to know more about that, guys, I did release a video about Ferrari running out of cost cap budget yesterday on the channel, so please do and go and check that out. That could be the reason why Binotto has not been on the grid in the last races. Honestly, Pascal, I haven't noticed that because I'm not being a Ferrari fan. I watch the race, but I don't specifically look for team principals. There as Toto Wolff hasn't been there, has he? I only realised that at the end of the race in Brazil. So I didn't know that, Pascal. So that's an interesting one. Has Binotto actually been missing from the grid in the last few races? Because I haven't noticed that, I'll be honest. Please do smash a like on the stream, guys. If you are new here, do make sure you're subscribing to the channel because I'm live Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. with the latest Formula One news and other video content on the channel if you like your real F1 content. But there we go. that was this morning's news, and the main story continues to be the sort of premiership at Ferrari. Will end the poll there. Would Seidl be a good fit for Ferrari? 75% of people saying yes, 25% of people saying no. So most people think Seidl would work, but I think most people also thinking that Vasseur would be a better option. So there may well be a video later on today, guys. Please do make sure you smash the like on the video and also subscribed. I'll be back at 9 a.m. in the morning, though, on this channel. But shortly, I'm going to be over on Facebook Gaming on Pit Lane Sim Racing with the Monaco Grand Prix on F1 Manager 22. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Very good chat, and the stream did very well this morning. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you over on Facebook Gaming in just a few minutes on Pit Lane Sim Racing. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.